Dillon Danis versus Logan Paul. What were your
Man,
thoughts?
get this shit out of here. KSI, Camp SI. He's supposed to fight me January 14th. He flaked and took the easier opponent because I did not with Barstool Sports. I did not like that dude. Whoever the dude is that own Barstool Sports. Him, whatever his name is. I don't like him.
I wish I would have saw you versus GSP.
The only fight I want. Yeah, I hope for GSP a dumb bag too. I offer him $1 million to fight me in the Middle East.
So how do you feel about Danis getting the opportunity to fight in the UFC?
Nobody give a about no Dillon. Google worst treated champion in the UFC and see what the person that populates.
Worst treated UFC champion. So yeah, it says Tyron Woodley, I'm by far the worst treated champion in the history of the UFC.
Do you think you'll fight Jake Paul again?
I feel like I won the first fight. 2, I was definitely winning the second fight. Now come over to my world. Let's see what it is. Like slam your ass.
Oh, it's 15-time world champion Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MIGHTYcast.
Damn, cat, what you want?
You got cats?
Yeah, I got one. We got a cat. All right, Michael, let's run this shit. This man got shit to do. He got a call. My wife's got to go to church. You know how it is. All right, in 3, 2, 1. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of MIGHTYcast. I am your host, Demetrious Johnson, and my co-host, good friend, Michael Wonsover. We got a brand new guest. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this guest doesn't need no introduction, but me and this man go way, way, way back. This man is a man who got me into watches. This man is the one who got me into jewelry. He is the former UFC welterweight champion of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause for my good man, Tyron Woodley.
What's up, my G? How you doing, brother?
I am doing good. I'm doing good, T-Wood. It's funny. I never forget when you're like, man, you dressing okay. You dressing okay, but you need to get yourself a watch. That's what you need. It's a man's accessory. You get yourself a chain. What did my black ass go do when they go buy a watch? Now I got a chain. Now I got 3 watches, all Rolex and AP. Why you do that?
I think what I did was I told you it's okay to trick yourself. Because you're such a family man and you're such a person that just understanding. Like we were a good balance because I didn't give a f. I was all over the place with shit. Gucci, everything, Louis, everything, jewelry. You know what I mean? I was running through M's like like Mario and Luigi. And you were more so thinking about the long haul. So I think we were even balanced. Like I was focused on making sure I got the top dollar every chance I got, every sponsorships. And you said, man, just win the fight. You know what I mean? So I feel like we was a happy medium because at the end of the day, you do deserve to treat yourself. You do deserve to have nice things, especially when you buying gold and shit. Like now you understand that's kind of an investment. You know, some of those Rolexes you have probably, you know, appreciated quite a bit over these pandemics. So yeah, it was kind of the yin and yang.
Yeah, I mean, those are good ass times. Good ass times. I'll never forget when we were getting ready to fight in Canada and you were hustling so hard. You're like, I got this sponsorship, I got this one, I got this one. I was like, dog, just win the fight. And he goes, oh, I'm winning the fight and I'm going to get paid. Don't you worry about it.
I lost my fight, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. But you know what? Rory MacDonald was such a very different athlete at the time, right? You were more explosive. You had way more finishing rate, but he was just so tactical. And like you said,
he froze me a little bit. And like
exactly,
I've been frozen in fights, and I don't remember like Kamaru Usman fight. I don't remember Kobe, Gilbert. All those fights was kind of a blur to me. I was kind of like walking in a nightmare. But that fight I remember. It wasn't like I was frozen just because I was like an out of body experience. He was really focused on the fight. And that's when I had brought Dude Wife to the table. That was the first time they ever observed. We went number one on Twitter. I think I had like over $120,000 in sponsorships, which, you know, at that time was unheard of. So I was focusing more on that, and I thought I can do both. He didn't do any of the embedded, any of the roles that I can got. They went up to his door. He opened it and shut it. He was just stone cold serial killer, like focus, right? So he put me in a position where I can just tell he had good tactics. And anytime somebody asked me, the toughest matchup for me always was going to be Rory MacDonald. Because he's a big body. His timing was really good. He got that from training with George. And he put me on the end of his punches where if I threw a big bomb, he always had his left hand up, ready to shield for overhand, but then he just kept point fighting me until he could find the opening. So it was a tough fight, and I think the focus of that fight wasn't really there for me because Dana told me to fight this motherfucker, which I told you that he was the toughest matchup. I already knew it. Fight him in Vancouver, his hometown. If you fight him and beat him, you fight for a title. I said, bet, let's get it cracking. I get there fight week, they tell me, hey, the winner of this fight is not fighting for the title. Actually, the winner of Robbie Lawler and Matt Brown is fighting for the title. So I think that mentally, I thought I shook it off. I think we talked about this. I thought I shook it off, but I don't think I really did. It was still in my head. I'm like, I'm coming all the way out here to fight this motherfucker in his hometown. It's a way tougher matchup than Matt Brown, and I'm not gonna fight for a title even after this fight. So fighting and winning is the goal. Any young fighter that's watching this, Demetrious Johnson had that. He always focused on fighting and winning. You hear him talk about the Xbox sponsorship back in the day. You hear him talking about just going out there and winning. And Dan Lambert echoed the same thing. He said, Tyron, you can make as much money as you want to, but when you fight and you win, that really solves all the problems.
Yeah.
Right as the cat behind your head.
No, that's all I know. That's
That's
Bella. She do what she want to do. She do what she want to do.
Name?
Her name's Bella.
Bella, all right.
Yeah, Bella Kimura Johnson. The boys wanted that cat, and they're really big into jiu-jitsu right now. And so, Tyron and Maverick kind of went together on, like, let's name her our favorite submission, which is Kimura. And then Tanith wanted to name her Bella, and then last name Johnson. So Destiny was like, all right, Bella Kimura Johnson. We told my buddy, he goes, damn, you got our birth certificate too?
Social security number, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Earned income credit on your taxes?
Exactly. All right. I want to take it back to the beginning, man. Okay. So I remember the first time we met, when I looked at your body, I was like, okay, this man needs to be in NFL. This man's got quads like a running back. I mean, your structure is short. In the beginning, when you were growing up in high school, I know you wrestled, middle school. When did it all start for you? Like, what made you the athlete that you are today, the specimen?
A funny thing is, I've been an athlete since I was 10 years old.
Damn.
And I never took a break. So after I fought Jake those couple times, that was the first break I had ever taken in 30 years.
Damn.
I don't mean like, okay, like I never had an off season. I've been in one sport connected to the next sport. I've never had an off season for 30 years. So I was a football player. I was a strong safety. Was a running back, and I wanted to play football in college. And my broadcast couldn't afford no college. So when my coaches started playing favoritism, said, oh, don't worry about him. He's going to wrestle in college. I never played no wrestling in college. So then I turned up the savage on wrestling because obviously some of the recruiters, some of the D1 schools that wanted me to come and give a try for football, they were kind of pushing them to other athletes. So long story short, I've been an athlete forever, and I've been an explosive athlete forever. And I really didn't learn sound technique until college in wrestling. I was just a football tackler. I used to hit people hard. That's where I got my nickname T-Word from, actually, because they used to say you're bringing the wood, pause. They used to say when somebody hit somebody really hard, like I used to knock people's helmets off, and I was tiny, but I was mighty. There we go. I used to hit people very, very, very hard in football, and that's all I wanted to ever do is play strong safety, go to the NFL, and buy my mama a house. So I had that same explosiveness to throw a right hand, the same explosiveness to run through with a double leg, but my work ethic and my muscle memory was nuts. Like I would drill stuff over and over again because I didn't have the money to go out to these wrestling camps. So I'd buy the VHSs, and I would get these like Granby School of Wrestling. I should buy their VHS and like the John Smith Low Single. I had all these tapes when I was younger, but I didn't have no coaches that really can show me how to do it. So I used to drill on my sisters, drill on my friends, and I actually became a perfect rapper.
Damn. Now, so you did all that, then what transitioned you into, so you went to more of the wrestling route, and then how did you transition into mixed martial arts? Like, did you find a gym? Did you watch it on TV? Like, what?
No, it's funny, I never watched it. I never watched it. I never watched it. I never knew none of these guys. I never knew none of these fighters. I didn't know what Pride was. Like, but everybody in my college Oh yeah, they all were obsessed with it. So it was Ben Askren, Michael Chandler, all these guys that was just loving MMA. So when I got done coaching, I stayed around. I was a graduate assistant for 2 years. So now these are my teammates. Chandler was a freshman my senior year. Ben was a sophomore, I think, right?
Yeah.
So we were in college and beating each other ass every day, wrestling, and they just had a lot of respect for me because I was always the best wrestler, but I was always the best wrestler in the room. Ben was always the best wrestler on the mat. But in the practice room, I was the Olympic gold medalist. Nobody ever tell you anything different. I promise you. If you ask Ashton, if you ask Chandler, it was just something about the competition, right? I would never be shitty. I would never go below my level, but it was always a little bit more I could have gave, right?
Yep.
So those guys kind of amped me up to do it. So they were calling me, "Hey, what's up, coach? Coach." I said, "Motherfucker, don't call me coach. I'm your..." Like, we was just teammates 5 minutes ago. So I got uncomfortable being called coach by like people that's like 2 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And so I said, if you want to call me Coach Hot Sauce. So instead of them not calling me coach, these motherfuckers called me Coach Hot Sauce. So it was a fight. No, technically me and another coach started punching the bag. There's a punching bag in the weight room, right? So we started punching the bag every day. When I say it was the worst shit you can ever see, we was so terrible. I was throwing these little pinky out ghetto punches. My coach was, I don't know what the he was doing, but you don't understand, and the fans, you'll get this. If you never boxed, if you never fought, and you go again in front of a punching bag, I want you to punch that punching bag as hard as you can for as long as you can. I guarantee you 99% of you guys are going to last 60 seconds, right?
Yep. Nah.
So I was in the 99 percentile. 60 seconds, I was tired. Then every day we started doing it. Then it got to the point where I can punch the bag. And I'm not claiming good technique, but I'm claiming power and nonstop for 7 minutes straight, right? So that was like, I wanted like competition. They was like, man, you should fight. And at that time, I was just like, I was graduate assistant. I was coaching these guys. I was they all looked up to me. So I said, fuck it, I'm doing it. So I went down to this little, this guy named Jeff Powell. He had a fight December 15th. I went down there December 1st. And I was like, hey, man, I heard you got a card in 2 weeks. Can I fight in this card? And then he looked at me, and then he looked at this poster behind him, and he said, is that you on this poster? It was a wrestling poster. I said, yeah, that's me. He said, yeah, well, then you can fight. So he said, you got a place to train? I said, no, I was just going to wrestle with my teammates and then go out there and fight. He said, come here tonight. So I went there. They threw me on some motherfucker, some boxer that was trying to knock my head off. I didn't know what the fuck to do but slam him. Yeah. So my first part of my career, I got into it because these dudes amped me up to do it, right? And then none of my fights lasted more than a minute. I would just swing hard, knock them out, or slam them and get them out of there. So I had 5 fights in 60 seconds. Then Eve Edwards had a buddy named Lynn, which is a really good friend of mine now. Lynn found me on MySpace.
MySpace.
MySpace. And I did a wrestling camp that was called Nation's Best Wrestling Camp. That's just the name, as you know, right? To him, this is the best camp in the nation. So he saw me on the camp brochure. He saw John Smith and all these other guys as camp clinicians, right? So he saw I also did 1 or 2 amateur MMA fights. So he hit me up on MySpace to train Eve Edwards. Eve Edwards had lost to Joe Stevenson. He was #1 in the UFC at one point in time, but the wrestlers had infused into MMA and he couldn't deal with them. He couldn't stop the shot. So they hit me up. I had Ben. I said, Ben, some motherfucking name, hit me about some dude named Eve Edwards. They asked me to train him for, so you know Eve Edwards? I said, no, I don't know the fuck nobody here. Like, they're giving me this whole rundown of pride. So long story short, they gassed me up to go do it. So I went down to Houston and I started training Eve Edwards. And I basically helped him turn his career over and basically taught him how to defend a shot, how to take a shot, and introduce him to high-level wrestling. I went from doing that to training Thiago Alves, Jesse Cavalcante, Dean Thomas, which actually ended up being my coach. I became at one point probably the #1 wrestling coach. I was actually kind of the op. I was teaching them how to stop the background that I came from. So I was in Team Quest training. I was in American Top Team. I was at Alliance, Shrimp Couture. So for 2 years straight, I was bouncing around. I was a bag of bones. I was really just a beat up dummy, right? People know they couldn't stop me from wrestling. I was in such a great shape. I would just take him down. My first sparring session ever in American Top Team was Thiago Alves. Then I remember watching him kick motherfuckers in the leg, and I'm like, motherfucker. They're like, go in there with him. I'm like, well, all right. So my first sparring session ever in ATT was 5 rounds with Thiago Alves. And I'm telling you, at that time, he didn't wrestle that great.
Yeah.
But I didn't strike that great. So it was nothing but me trying to take him down for 25 minutes straight, him kicking me in the leg, kicking me in the head. And I just remember like, damn, do I want to do this? Like, because I'm a coach, but I wasn't really a fighter. I was just kind of around with it.
Yeah.
Then it clicked over and I said, I'm going to give this shit a try. So I really got an MMA as a wrestling coach. They just gave it a try. And if I give anything a try, I'm going to give it everything. So that's how I got into the sport.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This podcast is sponsored by GFUEL. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know we love to have that extra pump in the gym. And for me, I like to take GFUEL because I like that caffeine that I get with my creatine. It feels good. One of the flavors you guys can give a try is the delicious bubblegum flavor. And then also we have the hype sauce. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby. Boom. If you want to try these beautiful flavors, all you got to do is go to gfuel.com. Make sure you use my promo code MIGHTY. That will save you 20% on your complete order. I can't get enough. So if you want to try GFuel, just go to gfuel.com, use my promo code MIGHTY, and that will save you 20% on your order and get your pump on in the gym when you're lifting weights. Or if you are playing video games, I like to have my stuff when I'm playing Escape from Tarkov because I need absolute focus looking for them rats and them scabs. Let's get back to this amazing episode of the MIGHTYcast with our guest. Wow. It's almost kind of like Misha Tate's story because same thing. She's at college, hanging out with her friend, and her friend was doing, grappling and MMA.
I remember her from wrestling. That's funny. I remember her wrestling.
Yeah. And then she was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. And then everyone's like, oh, you're really good at it. You should try it. Gassing her up. And next thing you know, she does it, and then now it becomes her full-time career. And it's crazy because I remember when you and D. Thomas had an amazing relationship because at one point I felt like he was your head coach. Like when we would travel together, you guys would bounce ideas off each other. I would talk to him. I would talk to you, be there for your fight, supporting you. And I felt like you guys always had a good yin-yang. And it's crazy. I didn't know that it goes back to you being a wrestling coach for these guys. Coach. You were his coach. That's what I mean. You were his coach. He's Edwards, Thiago Alves, to help these guys coach. And you're like, I'll give this a try.
You remember Kami that would end up being like the head coach at ATT for a while, Kami Brazil?
Yeah.
So yeah, the reason he got there because I was supposed to train Thiago Alves, and I still train though. Mm-hmm. I was supposed to be his head coach when he fought Matt Hughes, right? I broke my hand in a fight. I had my last amateur fight. I broke my hand in. I still went there and I trained him with a claw the entire time. But Kami came in from Team Quest, yeah, and they used to always joke me like, I'm like, Kami, I was telling King Mo and Kami a long time, I was like, y'all should join ATT. We ain't joined over like ATT. They was roasting, they was roasting ATT, right? Yeah. And both of those motherfuckers end up switching over to ATT. But Kami came in to train with Thiago as a body. I was the head coach. But since my arm was up, he became the head coach for Thiago Alves. And he eventually became the head coach for the entire team, right? Yeah. So that was when I was really, really switching it over. Then I told myself, I want to try to give this a try. And a lot of people don't know this about me, and I can share it now, and I never would when I was fighting. I didn't have a coach until 2015. Until I fought Kelvin Gastelum, I didn't have a coach. I was the coach. I had a group of motherfuckers in St. Louis I trained with. Yeah. I would write out the workout plan, you know what I mean? And we would come and practice.
Yeah, I remember seeing that a lot in your in like the UFC behind the scenes, road to the Octagon, all that stuff. It was you basically orchestrating your training camp for the most part, and I felt like Dean was there to help.
No,
right?
I made Dean coach me.
Yeah, you made him coach you.
I said, Dean, you my motherfucking coach, dog. I said, you my coach, and I said, me and Dean got a funny story. Like DJ put it like this: imagine you went to a fight. You probably go to fights, right? Yep. And you go to fights, and the kids like, oh, DJ, let me take a picture with her, whatever, right? Imagine if you was in a fight, you had an amateur fight,
Mm-hmm.
and you behind stage, and a kid say, "Oh, it's DJ. Hey, DJ, can you corner me real quick to the fight?"
Yeah.
You're not gonna do it.
No, because well, the biggest
That's what I did to Dean. That's how I met Dean. Dean came to 2 amateur fights, was bringing, because they didn't have amateur in Florida. He drove amateurs all the way from Florida to Missouri, because we were the closest state that was doing amateur MMA.
Yeah.
He was there, right? And I said, hey, man, they say he part of ATT. Now, I had never even been to a big ATT. I was like at a satellite, which is kind of like, is you really ATT yet, right?
Yeah.
So I asked Dean to corner me. I said, hey, can you corner me real quick? He was like, all right, he didn't know I was. So he just went out there. The first day he ever met me, Dean went out there and cornered me, and I smashed somebody. And he came to the fight again. I did the same shit. Hey, man, can you corner me again? Because I didn't have corners. I just went there to fight. So he cornered me twice based upon that. Like, now looking back, like, it's got to be divine, man. It got to be God involved, because I wouldn't do that now. You wouldn't do that now.
No.
And he did it then. And then he used to come out to St. Louis when I was a coach at SIUE, and I would be coaching and teaching and working all day. This motherfucker didn't used to come fly out there, lay out in the grass, watch the like literally, I swear to you, like fucking what's that college movie when it was in Ithaca? For a road trip or something like that.
Probably.
He used to just lay out in the grass all day, hours, just do shit until I get done with wrestling practice, and then after wrestling practice, me and him will go.
Damn.
He just wanted to get away. Yeah.
Well, he saw something in you. That's probably why, right?
That
He saw
was for
something
him
in
at
you.
that time. That was for him just to get wrestling experience.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Then after that, I just started listening to his mind, the way he thought about fighting. He broke that shit down to a molecule. So I said, hey, dude, I don't have a team. I'm going to be real with you. So I said, I'm going to go out. Like, I built the team at one time, right? The team that ended up being the bomb squad, I was training with Eric Brown, Walker Boxers, on and off since 2007, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have any consistent training with him. Then I said, Coach, I got a lot of money, but I'm going to start paying you a little bit because I need you full-time in my corner. I'm the first MMA guy that he really took a liking to. So then I decided to go to Rufus Sport. So the road to Octagon was they was at my house, right? And they was like, all right, so I didn't have my training camp put together. Like, fuck, I'm winning this shit. So they at my house, and they're like, so what are we doing? That was either I was gonna fly to Florida we're talking about the next day. So imagine this is a Thursday. We're either gonna fly to Florida on Friday, or we're going to drive to Milwaukee on Friday. So I was trying to decide what the fuck I was going to do. Then I asked my son, Darren, Bobo, I was like, Darren, what you think I should do? And he was a little bitty kid, 6 years old, right? He said, Tyron, I think you should go and train with Ben Askren and Anthony Pettis. I think you should go to Milwaukee, right? And at that time, I believe that kids were pure, right? So I would listen to them because they don't have the world in them yet, right?
Yeah.
Spiritually, I would ask him out the blue, and he told me to go to Milwaukee. And I looked at the dude from UFC. I said, "We're going to Milwaukee." I was asleep. They drove my truck, and I think Florida is all. Dan Lambert had everything set up. You know what I mean? Had this dorm, had all this food, this bar. You know what I mean? All these coaches, the weather, Florida. It would have been more comfortable, but being comfortable doesn't make you a champion. Like, when I trained in Florida, it made me comfortable. Like, I did a couple training camps there. But when I went to Milwaukee, it made me a champion. It wasn't no cute girls there. It wasn't no freaking...
No distractions.
No distractions. Oh, shit. God like that for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't the bullshit that I was getting me in trouble in fighting, right?
Yeah.
It was cold. It was negative 14. So I said, the next day, we went up to Milwaukee. Right. I hit Duke up. I said, I'm going to take you up on that offer. I'll be there tomorrow. He was like, all right. So I drove there. I got sleepy. The UFC, they probably didn't supposed to do this. UFC film crew had to drive my truck. I was tired. So the film crew drove my fucking truck all the way up to Milwaukee. Right. We get there. I get Eve Edwards to meet me there. Because that's when I fought the first Southpaw, which is Kevin Gastelum. And I'm like, Duke Rufus is the king at beating the opposite stand because his brother was a southpaw. So he had practiced with it every time. Anthony switched stances. Ben was a southpaw. It made sense.
Yep.
So I went out there. It's first day of practice. I get there. Everybody looking at me like, "Who the f*** is Tyron doing here?" Right?
Mhm.
Then didn't know I was coming. Anthony didn't know I was coming. Then CM Punk came in. Our first day
CM
together was
Punk.
the first day was both of our first day. And then, to be honest, that was the best choice I ever made, man. Dean always had my back, but he would sometimes let me do whatever I want to do. Right?
Yep.
I didn't have a real striking coach. Then obviously Duke Rufus came in there, but Duke said, "I'm not your striking coach. I'm your winning coach."
Hey.
He showed me how to train, and he showed me that I was doing too much. And when I started talking to you about your training program, the way I watched you fight, I thought you were doing what I was doing, right? But you weren't, right? It was getting in there and making it count, but not being in there too long just to be in there. And I was in there just to being there. I was in there to prove people that I was in shape. Because when you carry muscle around, people always think a black man with muscles don't gas, and I hated that stereotype. So I was doing too much, and it never made it to the cage with me. It made me too sore for sparring, and so that's how I built my team. And I didn't have a coach until 2015.
Wow. That is.
Then I went on the run.
Well, it's just crazy because you were successful. I felt like you were successful in Strikeforce days, and then you're obviously successful in the UFC days because you became a world champion. Had some of the best knockouts in the welterweight division. I mean, when you knocked out Josh Koshcheck, like you hit him, you recovered, you hit him with that right hand, and then you're like, bop bop, 1, 2. I was like, oh.
Just in case. And I don't remember throwing that last two piece. I don't even remember throwing that last two piece, to be honest. If you, they only show highlights when you look at the clip, but if you go back and look at a piece of the fight, right?
Yeah.
When we trained for Josh, it was like, okay, Josh is a better accredited wrestler than me. He had a couple of national titles, right?
Yep.
He had quote unquote better cardio because he was getting hit, rocked, and we knew that if we hit him and flash him, he's going to come back to life, brother. He's not gonna wobble and go away. You have to put this motherfucker OUT, right?
Yeah.
Then he had a good overhand right too. So then we always looked at the fight. How is somebody gonna fight me based upon my strengths and weaknesses, and how can I beat him? And we decided that I can beat Josh Koshcheck by being a half a second faster than him, by getting there a little sooner than him, being a little bit before him, right? So the whole game plan was not to think and just to go, right?
Yeah.
So the first time he backed me up, I checked the punch, then I threw my overhand, but I wrapped it around his neck. So I hit him and it flashed him and he went down, right? He hit the ground and I was like, all right, let's go, right? So he hit the ground and I get on top of him and I punched him, boom, and I woke his ass up. When I hit him, it's like all his strength came right back. When I hit him, boom, he saved by himself, his eyes opened up. And he grabbed me, and Koshcheck's strong. You don't look strong, but he's strong, right? So he grabbed me. I'm like, this motherfucker back up. So then I started thinking, all right, I'm not going to knock him out from the top position. Get some punches in. When I breathe, I'm going to reset. Then we got into the same exact situation, right? Yep. I knew it was coming, so I kicked him, and then I looked up at the clock. I'm like, all right, it's only a couple more seconds left, right? So then he threw the punch. Now, I don't know how I be thinking like this, and you probably do the same thing. But I did have to having conversations in my mind and thinking as the fight going on. Yeah. So he threw the same punch, right? So this time I took a half a step back. Because remember, the first time I went behind his neck. So when I took that step back, it put me in a perfect exact position. So when I hit him, I cleaned him right across the chin. All I remember is, all right, he finna throw that punch again. I seen because he was opening his body. I was like, here it comes. Step back. So when I step back, boom. I already knew I was perfect, so I threw my whole life in that motherfucker punch. Wow, and I hit him, and then that's all I remember. I don't remember hitting him with another two-piece.
Yeah. That was the best. That was the best part. You go whack, and then he was like, "Oh!" And you go pop, pop, another two, and you run off. And I remember
just in case.
Yeah, I remember
giant punch.
Yeah, I remember you had a quote. You said, "I threw my whole life in that punch. I threw about them diapers. I was thinking about that formula. I was thinking about everything in that mother punch."
Nah, man, it was some struggles. Paul Daly fight, man. I was broke. Koshcheck fight, I was broke, man. I had to like all these people that's getting into the fight game now, especially when they come from like YouTubing and different spaces, man, they never had to fight for money. We had to fight for money. You know what I mean? Wins and losses, and I hate the structure of the fighting game. And we'll talk about this later on in the show, but that's why as I'm doing my promotion, I'm structuring it different. I'm
Whoa,
giving
whoa, whoa, whoa,
ownership.
whoa! You said your promotion?
Yeah. I started a whole promotion company.
Oh my goodness. Okay. We're gonna get to that. Okay, so let's I mean, it's
But
crazy
we were
because
fighting for money, man. We were fighting not only for our livelihood, we had to win because we needed to win for our family, and we had to win because we need to advance in the rankings and advance to get closer to a belt. So it was different. It was different shit on the line.
yeah, I agree. I always call it the poor man's. They never gone through the broke poor man part of the sport, right? When you look at the influencer boxers, like you said, KSI, Jake Paul, the list just goes on, Slim, Salt Poppy, all those guys, credit to them to building a platform where they can be able to have money and be able to monetize their content and be able to have money to be able to have the best training camp, right? Like you
They
said.
got the most. They don't have no diet restrictions. They don't have no training restrictions. Many of them don't have children. Many of them don't have another job that prevents them. I remember you were doing construction. You know what I mean? So we got all these different things that we had to do. I was coaching wrestling full time, to do what I needed to do and doing wrestling camps on the side. They are getting into almost like a bucket list win-win situation, right? Imagine like if you can get into a sport with no financial stress. That's the first thing that really us up. Financial stress. And then if you got a family on top of that to provide for them, and then, you know what I mean, just the politics of actually having to climb the ranking on your own 2 feet, not because you come in with a ability to subscribe. Because if you can subscribe, now subscriptions are technically pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Because even when you buy a pay-per-view in the UFC, you got to go on the app and do all this other shit to it, right? Yep. So now people that are subscribable, likable, followable, TikTokable, you can't act like those people are going to be pay-per-viewable. They are. And that's why they've been able to make that grip. And I don't knock them for it, but their anxiety ain't the same as ours was.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost, I feel like that poor man state that we had made us better because we truly knew this is all we had and we had no choice but to make it, right? Like we had no choice but to train hard, get to jiu-jitsu, get the wrestling, get the Muay Thai, the kickboxing, find the right coach, have the right diet, all that stuff. Okay, I'm going to ask a couple more things about MMA, then I want to go on to some other stuff because, most of our listeners are MMA, but I think I like to know the other side of mixed martial arts. So you won the belt. What is one fight that you wish you would have had? I wish I would have saw you versus GSP. Granted, GSP
that's the only
was
fight I want. Yeah, I offer GSP a dumb bag too. I offer him $5 to $7 million to fight me in the Middle East.
Oh, really? In MMA or in
MMA? Yeah. And then I told him if he don't want to do MMA, he can choose the combat because he may just want to do kickboxing. He may just want to do something where you can punch and kick. Not because I don't like him. Because I like him, because he's the best. Yeah. And I just feel like I just missed him because of timing. Like if he would have been in the UFC still, when I was in the UFC, I would have met him. And I feel like when I met him, I would have beat him. And it's something that's always in my mind. Like it don't matter how many times I would have won. Like, I mean, if I would have got 9 or 10 like you and I still didn't fight GSP, I can't walk around and say I'm the best. Yeah. You could, because you wiped everybody out. You doubled up on rematches. I never got that chance. And, it wasn't the big super fights, which is the secondary. That's a supplement. If you can fight the top dog, that's the way you can say you're the best. Otherwise, you got to do it like Conor or somebody else. They just fighting the super fights and get the most attention and the most money. So, George St-Pierre, for sure, we the same age. I just started the sport at 23. He started earlier. And he did what he needed to do. I said this on my show. He did what he needed to do. He's not ducking and dodging me. He fought the tough guys. He fought the Matt Leeses. He fought the BJ Penns. It's just for his life, I can't make somebody fight a fight that means something to me and make it mean something to them. He did what he needed to do. He don't have to come back and prove. And, that's just the unfortunate thing with timing. But if I could fight anybody, the old time, new time, anybody for any amount of money, it would be George St-Pierre. Yeah, and he's just out of that space right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Which rightfully so, like you said, he's done so much. One of the greats in the welterweight, one of the GOATs. I mean, like you said,
I would say he is a GOAT in the welterweight division. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna put him. I wouldn't put him technically as the best overall MMA. I would say he's the best welterweight though. Yeah, for sure.
So. Now I'm done with MMA. You leave mixed martial arts. You leave the UFC, okay? And then all of a sudden, we see you, because I believe the next step after you left the UFC was you went into influential boxing. You went into boxing, and correct me if I'm wrong, your first fight was against Jake Paul, correct?
Yeah, I mean, even before then, just so you know, I was going to lead the UFC prior. I was going to lead the UFC after Darren Till, right? I told them, fucking cut me, dog. Y'all want me here, man? Shit, y'all keep holding on to me, dog. Like, he fighting and shit every fight because, you know how I was. I was a gorilla. I had you up a couple times, too, to go buck wild.
Yeah.
I mean, but I knew the number so well. I knew what everybody was making. I'm not finna go out there and be making the same as Cowboy Cerrone. That motherfucker ain't never touched gold in his life. I'm not finna do that. I'm not finna. No, that's just a principle thing. Yeah. I feel like sometimes when you're African American in this game, they think you should just be appreciative. I'm not just appreciative. I'm thankful that you give me opportunity, but you didn't give me the gifts. God gave me the gifts. I'm thankful to Him for the gifts. I'm appreciative of you for giving me an opportunity, right? But He's controlling everything. So I'm not gonna know what people are making number-wise and see what I've done in the sport and who I'm beating. I'm not gonna let Robbie Lawler make more money than I made when I'm the motherfucker that smoked him, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. So at the end of the day, they hated that I knew the numbers. So I was like, all right, cool. So they don't want to, they say, okay, we'll let you out your contract. Bet. All right, I'm out, right? That's before it was cool. I was the first one before it was cool to leave. Everybody was scared to leave. Everybody was hanging on your life for those 3 letters, right? UFC. You need to be fighting for the UFC. Once you get the straps, once people know what time it is, you need to go out there and make the top dollar because we prize fighters. You understand that? Yeah. I mean, you were in a position. You did financially what you deserve to get when you were at the top of the top in the top league, right? I'm thankful for the UFC. I don't have no problems with them. I talked to Dana a couple months ago. I ain't got no issues with them. I did what I needed to do. If I can go back, I would just be a little bit more focused towards the end on proving my family and my people right, less distracted and less on trying to prove them wrong. I was trying to prove them right the whole time. So I burned them last 5 fights off my contract.
Yeah.
I couldn't get out. You see how fast I fought everybody?
Yeah,
I fought all my mentees.
You were going fast.
Osterman, Colby, Luke K. Gilbert, and I'm out.
Yeah.
I had already planned on boxing.
Yeah, you were very, very, very active as you were a champion. And it was like back to back, back to back, back to back. Not your best performances, but if your mind was already set on you're going to go box. And I know what you mean. I'll never forget when I fought and I was a world champion. And then CM Punk came in there and his paycheck was $500,000. And I was making, I think, 350.
150.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was 350 because I was fighting Henry Cejudo. So I had 350 flat. And this guy comes in and he makes $500K. And I'm like, what the f***? This guy's never touched gold before in his whole entire life. And he's making more money than me?
Like, I understand it now, but at that time, I was on that. Yeah, I was on that same shit. I'm like, fuck that. I argued with him over you a couple times. It ain't had shit to do with me, but I was like, nah, because I was talking numbers. I'm like, when you go to basketball, it don't matter if Steph Curry throw a monster can at somebody dome or bust a window out. He can pull a 3. He gonna get paid top dollar, right? You got DJ who got 8 at that time. He got 8 titles. He got 8 titles, but you gonna pay Cowboy Cerrone the same as him? Cowboy's making 350. He never took the gold ever. I said, so your reason behind him making $350,000 per fight is that he never complains. He takes any fight that you offer him. He'll even fight injured. He'll even fight last minute notice. That don't work for me.
Yeah, well, it kind of defeats the whole it defeats the whole purpose of being a world champion, right? Because that's the whole premise of getting into a sport, whether it's basketball, football, NHL. You want to become champion, you want to touch gold. And in mixed martial arts, it always had that bad stigma where it's like you could be a world champion, and a guy who's on a 2-fight win streak who just has a bigger following is going to make more money than you. So I totally understand where you're coming from. So
people started wanting to be the champion of the purse and stop being the champion of the UFC in the world.
Exactly.
People right now are the champion of the fight that they put you in. It ain't necessarily the best fighters. The ranking system is not even really used as much. If a Sean O'Malley got a bigger following, he's going to supersede anybody that was technically up next according to ranking, according to head-to-head matchups, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just became I became tired of trying to prove people wrong. It wasn't a motivator for me anymore. At one point in time, it was everything. I said, you think Wonder Boy can beat me? Let me show you. I'm gonna this one. Oh, you think Darren Till got me? I was always out there to show these motherfuckers. That was my whole MO in my mind. They trying to set me up. They think this motherfucker can beat me. And maybe they weren't, but it was something that drove me that they are trying to set me up. They think this motherfucker can beat me. That's what I would say before I say yes to every fight. And that was enough to make me go out there and make an example out of a motherfucker. But that wasn't what I should have been doing. So then when I erased that appetite, and then I just got tired of contesting and telling the truth, because when you're looking at the sport, a Dana White and a Joe Rogan is their encyclopedia. If I tell what the truth is, now I'm the complaining, whining, titled fighter. So I didn't want to be the complaining, whining, entitled fighter. I didn't want to be the guy that's always throwing a race card, and I knew I couldn't win that battle. So then I become mute. Remember the last couple of years of UFC? I didn't respond to nothing. I let Dana say whatever he want to say. I let the camera say, and I just walked and showed up. I didn't say shit, right?
Yeah.
That was the most depressing, worst time of my career, as far as like that. It wasn't there. I was a shell walking around. I mean, I trained hard. Yeah. I trained discipline, and when I started disciplining myself the way everybody told me to do, my performances were worse. When I was distracted, when I was out living a life, when I was, you know what I mean, doing shit that I shouldn't have been doing, you know what I mean, chasing women, all this other bullshit, right? Yep. That's when I was winning, but it wasn't because of what I was doing at that time. It was the seeds I planted 7 years before when I was chasing God, when I was eating healthy, when I was living correct. Those seeds had planted, those seeds had grew, and I was harvesting. I was in a harvest season when I was on my title reign. The devil kind of, they said don't be ignorant of Satan's devices, because the devil had me thinking that it's separate. You can be a shitty husband and a great fighter and a dad, and you're going to keep winning. No, all I was doing was pulling the harvest from what I planted, right? Then I was planting shitty seeds in the ground that I unfortunately had to deal with later, and they came out. So when you seen that streak of learning, all of the lessons I took, I planted some seeds during that title reign, right? I was training my ass off, so I've never been a lazy person. I love training. I love testing my body, but at the end of the day, I came to the temptation, right? Yeah. The temptation that, why do I gotta be a good person? Everybody No, I went through that, man. I felt like when I was in Strike Force, I felt like I was a goody two-shoe. You know what I mean? I felt like everybody else was getting the DWIs and doing all this bullshit, and they were still winning, still making money. Yeah. And I put a big toe in that water for a little bit, and shit, that shit wasn't. I'm out of there now. I'm out in that water. You're trying to pull me out the water, and I respect you and I appreciate you, and I'm thankful that you're a man that can forgive and we can be friends again, because you was the only real one at that time that was trying to get me to do the real thing. You were saying, hey dog, you try to grab me up, talk to me, like, get the out of here, do this, and you was telling me all the right shit, but at the time I didn't want to hear. Man. So I appreciate you and love you for being able to be your friend again, and I appreciate you for trying to help me at that point in time, but I honestly think it was God's will that I grew up and I learned, because I learned like 20 years of shit in a short period of time because of what I did. Now I'm off the grid. Now I'm off the grid, you know what I mean? I'm just coasting. I ain't in the mix. I ain't VIP at every club, every party. You know what I mean? I ain't spending no money. I got this little one on. Anthony gave me this, Anthony Pettis. He gave me this. His dad gave it to him, and he gave it to me, so it's symbolic. It's something I wear because his dad passed. So I don't even. If you hang out with me now, it'd be a lot different than.
I'm like, wow, T. Wow, this is it, huh? This is boring. Can we go back to the Tiger Wood days where you doing all this stuff? The biggest thing is I've always cherished the moments we've always had with each other. I've always wanted nothing but the best for you. I've always got love for you. And when you said you were glad we could be friends again, I never thought we became unfriends. So
you had to do what you had to do, and I respect that, because your wife and my wife had become friends, and some of the things I was doing was just shitty stuff. Yeah. Right, and you can't stand side by side. You did.
We talk about this.
Like, you got to choose your wife, and you got to choose right over wrong. And at that time, I was doing wrong. And bad company corrupts good manner. You can't be being a good guy and hanging around me, and I'm out here willy nilly in this world, right? You try to get through my thick ass skull, and man, you told me one time, and I just looked at you. We was at that fight. We was at that fight or something, right?
Yeah. Oh, you remember what I said to you?
Yeah. You told. I remember you say, you know what? Yeah, I look around. I may see a woman that's attractive, but I understand how important my wife is. So if I need to think, and I need to today, if I need to use my imagination, whatever I gotta do, I do it with my woman. That's what you need to do. I heard everything you said. I wrote it down. I still got the notepad. I wrote everything you said down on a notepad. I got it in my closet. And I showed you a picture of one that had a big booty and some juicy. And you look at me, this motherfucker didn't listen to nothing I said. God damn. But since a kid, man, I've been that way, man. Since I was a little bitty kid, man, I just couldn't help it. I just loved them, man. I just love women, man.
I love it. All right, let's get back on track. T. Okay, so I agree with you. The always arguing with.
They said that to you though.
Hey,
you need to hear that.
I truly do, and I remember those talks, man. I remember the UFC Fighter Summit days. I remember all that stuff, man. Like I said, I hold those memories close to my heart because it was a real conversation. I truly cared about your well-being and your career and your life and your family and all that stuff. So, but I want to talk about your transition from MMA to boxing. Now, the biggest thing I want to know, and I hope you can elaborate on it, is how is negotiating? I always tell people, you see a lot more people going from MMA to boxing. You look at Francis Ngannou, you've done it. There's been a lot more. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more athletes. Anthony Pettis has done it. Now, when you sign up with any mixed martial arts promotion, typically one, PFL, Bellator, UFC, you name it, they pretty much have the leverage unless you have, a big following. But you go into boxing, you always hear in boxing, there's an A side, there's a B side. And when you were negotiating with, Jake Paul, how was that negotiating? Were you able to go in there and say, hey, this is what I want, this is how much I deserve? Like, what is that negotiation like?
The first time it was a lot easier than the second time. The first time it was like this. I never asked to fight Jake. Right? Remember when I was a champion, I was talking about fighting Canelo. I don't know what the I was thinking. I'm fighting Canelo, dog. And Canelo said, yes, he'll fight me. A lot of people don't know that. Canelo said, yeah, he'll fight me at that time. And Dana wouldn't let it happen, right? But he let Floyd and Conor happen. So long story short, what I had already planned on doing boxing. Part of the reason why I wanted to burn my contract out, and for you guys that don't understand what that means that I have a specific amount of fights left on my contract. After I use that last fight, most fighters don't make it to the last fight. The UFC try to get them to renegotiate between the second to the last or their last fight. They try to renegotiate before, so we don't hit free agency. Once we fight the last fight out, we got 90 days where they can only speak to us. And then we got 180 days where they got the right to match, and they can basically match any offer. So if Bellator say, okay, I'm going to give you this. Now, what I had was everybody was going to juice my numbers up. So there was no way they was going to keep me.
Yep.
People was going to offer me 3, 4, 5 million, and the UFC would have never paid me that. So I was going to be free anyway. So the UFC didn't even fight me. So when I fought my last fight against Luke Hay, right, I came out swinging like they remember. I think I came out a little too buck wild. And I got clipped with a shot, but they remember. They said, "Okay, that's the Tyron we remember." So when I left, it was very amicable. It was very respectable. It was no bullshit. It was no drama. So I was able to instantly go out for another deal. I didn't have to get the approval. I didn't have to get the right to match. So I had planned the entire time to be the only free agent in the sport. And for a long time, I was the only true free agent in the sport. I had offers from ONE FC. Had offers from PFL, I had offers from Bellator, had offers from Glory, and I still have offers with most of those companies, right, to fight. Yep. One fight deals. I'm not signing an exclusive contract to anybody but myself and my promotion company. So I could have fought in ONE FC. We had spoken about me fighting the champion because the champion of ONE, he had both belts, right?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was because the weight classes are different. Like, you're one.
It was one guy that was around my weight that had 2 belts in both weight classes.
Yeah,
more of a grappler, right?
Yep.
So we were talking about me fighting him. The Glory champion, the guy from Glory hit me up. The champion of Glory wanted to fight me, right? Cool. And PFL hit me up about fighting. I said, cool. So I'm still to this day, I have offers for all these companies to fight. So now I'm in the driver's seat where now I can fight when I want to fight. In the UFC, I couldn't do that. I had to fight injured. I fought 4 world titles fights in 1 year. Me and John Jones, the only one that that fought and successfully defended that many times in one calendar year. And I fought at times when I wasn't ready to fight. I fought in winter months. Like when I fought Rory, it was tough to make weight in the winter for me because my camps were in Milwaukee and I was 205, cutting down to 170. And I've been 205 for 15 years. Yeah. I've never not been 205. I've always been that same weight, but I've just been killing myself to get down to 170. So the Jake Paul negotiation was a little different because Jake then respected me and it kind of was a fan of me in MMA, right? And they understood that I'm the one that gave Jake credibility. Don't get it f***ed up.
Yeah.
Not Ben, not Nate Robinson, not Anderson, not Nate, not Tommy Fury, right? None of those guys did. Because everybody, I called him out on Vulture and Culture. I'm the one that had the big press conference with him. I did the most numbers with him. And when you look at the fight, I'm the one that really had the ability to hurt him. I'm the only one that really hurt him in any fights, right?
Yep.
So by him beating me and coming back and knocking me out after we had a close fight with some most people thought I won, right? That gave him the credibility. Okay, I guess he a real fighter now, right?
Yep.
It
was
was still down.
mad.
Yeah, I was mad too. Shit, I wasn't happy. You know what I mean? But in the negotiation, they didn't fight me over money because Nikisa worked for the UFC.
Yep.
And he said some things private to me that as a man, I don't speak about business outside of it, but he said some things private to me on reasons why he didn't want to try to negotiate with me, on reason why he didn't want to try to take me down on numbers. So really what I asked for is what I got, right? And I set the bar because everybody else got the same purse I got, or they got higher when they went to Saudi, but Saudi amplified that. You can add another $5 million on there when you go to Saudi, right?
Damn.
Crazy.
I didn't get my black ass in Saudi. I mean, that's the thing now.
I'm not money. I like B side, but I was like the B plus side. But in the rematch, we had already, he was the A side, I was kind of the B, but kind of closer to being even. On the second time around, my fight purse was dumb on the rematch clause. That's why I was so mad. I thought I won the first fight. So I should have been fighting him again on the rematch clause. When I fought him again the second time, it wasn't on the rematch clause because I didn't win, according to the judges, right? So I would have made over double the amount of money I made the first time, and I got paid nice the first time. And then we both would have been A side. So flights and what gloves you can wear and hotels and if you get a private plane and all that shit is negotiated here. I don't want a private plane because I got too many people. So I just want fucking economy flights, but a lot of them versus a few business class or a private jet. I can fake that shit. I can go rent one and take some video like everybody else doing. Buy one shit. Motherfucker ain't owning no damn plane. Get out of here. Shit was expensive.
Man. So you would say you enjoy the negotiating in the boxing realm, the influencer boxing?
For sure. It's a guaranteed rate. In fighting, is no way. When we train to win. Nobody want no showing win bonus.
Yeah.
Win bonus should be if you want to give me a bonus on top of that because you like my performance.
Yeah.
I should negotiate a rate that I'm going to make win or lose because what if I get cut? What if you do something illegal? What if I won and everybody said I lost? What if it was a draw? And now the UFC or any other organization, they get away from paying either guy a win bonus, right?
Yeah, that's true.
When I fought Wonder Boy, nobody got a win bonus. They save money. And they got a fucking fight in the night fight. Right? No, you ain't saying shit. We need to get that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how the boxing negotiation is. And I just enjoyed it because there's no bullshit. There's no commercials for real. So I was able to sell a lot of ad spots. Each patch of my shorts every patch was 6 figures. None of them was less than that. Every last one of them. Some of them 100, 150, 125, 100 for a patch, another 20 for a hat. I had 30,000 for a mouth guard.
$30,000 for a mouth guard?
Yeah, Big Willies. They paid me 30 bands to fake like I was gonna put beard oil on before I fought.
You're like,
hey man, we need to shop it up, man. I'm about to make a beard oil. Maybe we can maybe collaborate.
I love it. We were supposed to do that a long time ago when we were.
That's why I'm saying it to you now. I just thought about it. Somebody brought it to my attention. I thought about it.
Yeah,
but so we made a lot of money on that, and then they had some corporate sponsors that had to be on our shorts, which I did not with Barstool Sports. I did not like that dude. I cursed him out during the face off. I said, "Who the is you? And who told you to say that bullshit? Oh, that's what the fans want to hear. So they don't want to hear that bullshit. That shit mad disrespectful. The way he announced me and Jake, I didn't know who he was, whoever the dude is, the own Barstool Sports, but him, whatever his name is. I don't like him. What's his name? David something?
I don't know. Michael, you know his name? What's his name, Michael?
His name's
Michael want to go. He know this shit finna be a soundbite. He popped over there like, what's his name?
I love how Tyron knows exactly how the game works. Dave Portnoy's his name. So
Hell, Dave said some shitty shit about some athletes as well. And he said some bullshit when we fought. And people think just because you got money and clout that you got to worship people. I don't. If you're a billionaire or a bum, I'm going to give you the same respect if you earn it. I always give respect. He disrespected me the first time I met him. He don't get a second chance with me. And I don't care if my podcast ain't never on Barstool Sports. I don't give a fuck. And that's on Love Cuz combined.
I love it. Well, that's one of the things.
Yeah, so I'm gonna let you talk about. I always overtalk people, but
No, you're good. You're good. It's that's the thing I always find it. So a couple things I want to take away from that. One, you were one of the first free agents in the big time when it was not cool to be free agent.
First free agent, yeah.
The first
Francis made it cool afterwards, but I'm gonna be real. They was knocking me when I did it.
Yeah,
Francis and those they wasn't on it when I was doing it. Now everybody, now the UFC doing me so bad. Oh, I don't like it. Let me say it. Oh my god.
Well,
Google worst treated champion, Mike. Since you got you on the side, pop in again. Google worst treated champion in UFC and see what the first thing that populates.
Oh, I love it. So the
worst
biggest
treated UFC champion. The 20. Well, it says the 20. Oh, it says Tyron Woodley. I'm by far the worst treated champion in the history of the UFC.
But think about it, right? I fought the gorilla, the natural born killer. I fought the ruthless motherfucker. I fought the Karate Kid. I fought the best jiu-jitsu guy they ever had in the sport, right?
Yep.
Right? I fought almost the best of each. Brawler, and then the up and coming, they just swore on everything that Darren Till was about to be Conor McGregor. Oh my God, he sold out the O2 ringer. He's bigger than Tyron. He's more focused than Tyron. Blah, blah. He did all that shit, right? And then that motherfucker got beat up. So what are we talking about, right? So at the end of the day, all I did was ask questions.
Yeah.
And I came over to the UFC with a flag though. Sean Shelby did that shit. That's why Sean Shelby, I've been wanting to slap you for a long time because of it. He told Joe Silva I was difficult. He told Joe Silva I was difficult because I didn't want to sign a new deal with Strikeforce. Dude, I'm 20. I started fighting at 23. I ain't young.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like Chandler and Eddie Alvarez spending their best years in Bellator.
Yeah.
I want to spend my best year in the UFC. So I told him, I said, hey, I don't want to do another deal, dog. I got 2 more fights on my deal. Let me fight Nate. If I win, then I want more money. But if I lose, you ain't got to pay me more money. I got 2 fights. Why we got to renegotiate now? Yeah. So they wanted me to renegotiate, and that's why he said I was difficult because I didn't want to.
Yeah, well, that's a tactic you explained earlier. That's a tactic they do it, right? Even when I fought, they're like, so for the listeners out there, what you always want to do, and I've learned this from Tyron Woodley, Francis Ngannou, Eddie Alvarez, is that you always bet on yourself, right? If you believe in yourself, if you believe in your brand, you bet on yourself. So if you sign a 8, 5, 6 figure,
did you ever sign a 10-fight deal?
No, what's that?
You ever signed a 10-fight deal?
Yeah, I've signed an 8-fight deal.
I did a 10-fight deal with UFC.
I've signed an 8-fight deal, and I've gone through the whole entire deal. I think it was the first time when I fought in the UFC when I became a champion, when I beat Joseph Benavidez. That was 152, and then I got to the very end. I think it was like 2 fights left, and they renegotiated with me, and they gave me, I think it was 150 to show and 50 to win. No pay-per-view points. And I knew that's where you made the bulk of your money in the pay-per-view points if you got on a Conor card or a big card, or at that time it was Jones and DC.
If they allowed you to become a brand, if they allowed you.
Yes.
I think, I proved after the UFC that I can do it without Conor, right?
Yeah.
People can say Jake Paul, but Jake Paul fans are not my fans. They're the teeny bopper fans.
Yep.
He got people that are younger than him that are looking up to him. So the high schoolers were my fans. So for us to do the numbers we did, you can't. Okay, I thought I was in the draw.
Yeah.
I mean, so I did a 10-fight deal too.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is that nowadays, where content is king, what I mean by content is king, you have not as much selection to go anywhere. If you have, to go. There are places to go, but you have a big name, like take, for example, Francis Ngannou. No, let's take, for example, Sergio Pettis, one of the hot athletes who came out of the UFC, did not resign with the UFC. He ended up signing with Bellator, became a champion, ended up beating Kyojo Horiguchi. He said that he was making more money outside of the UFC when he went to Bellator. You look at Francis Ngannou, he just made probably the biggest bag he's ever made fighting Tyson Fury, and arguably, I thought he won that fight, and now he's about to fight Anthony Joshua, and then the winner, and after that fight, he's going to fight the winner of Tyson Fury versus Usyk. What's that? That's your call after that? See, that's the thing that people don't realize. Like, there's money outside of the organization. If you have a name,
fighting too.
Outside of fighting, yeah. If you have a name, always bet on yourself. Nowadays, like if I have my kids and they came up in the ranks, I'm like, son, you're signing like maybe a 3-fight deal. 3-fight deal, and that's it. If you don't, after the 3 fights, if you go 0-3, okay, it is what it is. We'll get back in the shop, get back in the lab, keep on working harder, and we'll come back and try it again.
Yeah, but nobody with no Johnson blood in their lives when they're going 0-3. Come on now.
But it's an interesting thing to hear. You're negotiating with, when you negotiate with those guys, it was a lot easier than it is with UFC, which I'm not surprised.
I did the second fight on the napkin. I did the second fight on a notepad over lunch.
What the fuck? You're like, okay, don't lose this napkin. Okay, this is what I want. This is what I deserve.
Yeah, I already got it on my phone. I over a notepad, so not a napkin. I did Cody Garbrandt deal on a napkin.
What?
Send it to my Snapchat so it can dissolve.
Oh my!
I've been doing deals for a long time. Juliana Pena, we helped out a long time ago, trying to build our brand. Catagano, Cody Garbrandt, a lot of people, Michael Chandler. Like, I never got credit for it because I never did it for credit, but I try to help enhance a lot of people's deals, their marketability, because if you were affiliated with me, it wasn't always a good thing for you, right?
Yeah.
So I had a cousin that was in the UFC, and I told her, don't be telling people you're my blood cousin. You know what I mean? Don't be telling people that, because you may get an actual different experience, right? And if you need anything from me, let me know. I got your back, but go and get it on your own too. A lot of fighters from the UFC that's in St. Louis. The little dude that did that crazy kick that knocked that dude head off, that's now the Bellator champ, right?
Yeah.
He from St. Louis. He been in my gym a lot. I said, dog.
we don't associate.
Pictures, don't be posting too many pictures with me in the gym, because you got a good relationship. You know what I mean? You fight like they want you to fight, and you know what I mean? You say what they want you to say. Keep it on that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's. So do you think you'll fight Jake Paul again? You think that fight's gonna happen?
Hopefully that's what they want to holler at me about, some MMA shit, when I holler at these PFL cats, because I feel.
Oh, that's right, because he's having his PFL debut. That's right. Me and Michael were talking about that. We said we'd rather see you versus Jake Paul.
It shouldn't be nobody else. If I'm the one that gave you your credibility, one, I feel like I won the first fight. Two, I was definitely winning the second fight. And at the same time I dropped my hand, he threw $1 million punch. If you rewind the film, he never won a round before then, right? Ever. The whole fight, he lost every single round. So, I mean, you can't take it away from him. If I hit him with the same punch, I've been on the gravy train as well. So I feel like if anybody's going to fight him, you're going to be making too much money to get kind of just catered through and walked up. You know, you got to jump in the motherfucking fire. And there's no fire in PFL like that right now. It's a lot of people talent-wise, but they don't have the name. And MMA, now come over to my world. Let's see what it is. Like, slam your ass. And they can't elbow. They should let elbows go in PFL though.
Well, I remember the Don Davis, he was talking about the elbows, and the reason why is because there's two different brands or whatnot. If it's the PFL season where the guys have to be back faster and they're in the you're talking
about the Bellator PFL.
No, yeah. I was
talking about just before that. I'm talking about, I think elbows should be allowed.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%.
Like man in the face on the ground, kicking, soccer kicking, you like all that shit.
Yeah. I like knees to the ground. Soccer kicks are fine. It's harder to kick. People don't realize how hard it is to kick somebody when they're actually like looking. Like if I drop them, come around and boot them, then that's curtains. But if I drop you and you're actually in, on your back like a turtle and looking, it's so hard to kick somebody. I mean, if you jump and stomp their face, you can do it like Shogun Hua style in Pride.
You're saying this all casually, like that shit. You're talking about soccer kicking a motherfucker and they skilling.
No, it's hard, man. It's hard. I mean, we trained before in the gym because Matt, his days back in Pride, and we didn't know where I was going to go. He was like, I don't know if you're going to, Shuto or Pride, or if you're going to
you was ready for whatever.
Well, I was ready for whatever, right? Like, Matt will come and Matt will like, all right, guys.
He ain't gonna say much either.
What's that?
He ain't gonna say much either. He gonna look at you like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, just the general public.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we'll come in the gym. He goes, all right, guys, we're sparring for 10 minutes. Everything goes. You stop, kick, stomp. Just be careful. Don't boot your teammate. And we would just do 10-minute rounds, and we'll do like maybe 4 of them. He was like, we don't know where you're going to go. We don't know if you're going to UFC, Pride, whatever. Or back in the day, it wasn't, what was that Pride's smaller weight class? It wasn't Shuto. It was Bushido. That's what it was. It was that was more spotlight on the smaller weight class, like the smaller weight class out there. I would love to see that. I think they make that fight. Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul.
I'm gonna holler at my guy George when he called me in a minute. He said, I'm gonna call you in 40 minutes. He's in Saudi Arabia. I said, well, I gotta do my dog Mighty podcast real quick, and then hit me after that. But what's funny? I was calling the fight. They do like a celebrity panel, right? So me and Red Lewis was calling the fight, and dude hit me up and said, Tyron, in this moment, like, what would you do? Because they want like my side. I said, I'll drop a motherfucking elbow on him, right? I ain't say motherfucker, but I did my little corporate voice. From this position, I would posture up, create space, and drop an elbow. It's like, somebody thought they like, how people just, they kind of hate on you because you're good naturally at what you do.
Yeah. And
they want to like try to like outdo you on a broadcast. That's the worst thing to do with me because I'm drawing you. He said, oh, there's no elbows in PFL. I said, you didn't ask me what the rules was. You asked me what I would do. If I was in there, I'm elbowing them. But then everybody started laughing. So he actually made me look good on trying to be petty. I'm not going to call out who did it.
Well, I hope they make that match. I think it's dope. I think me and Michael love to see that and cover it. Michael, what did you got for me? I don't want this man to be late to his meeting for Saudi Arabia because I don't want to take the money out of the man's pocket. What you got for Michael?
I wanted his opinion on one of the other influencer fights that we did see. Dillon Danis versus Logan Paul. What were your thoughts?
Get that shit out of here. Dillon Danis ain't fought MMA in 7 years, and he only did it twice when he did it, and he was a jiu-jitsu guy before he did it. He just got a loud mouth, and they want to fight a fighter. Like, all these dudes, Jake Paul is the only dude that are really a fighter motherfucker for real. He'll fight a real person, right? KSI, Cap SI. I had a contract with him right now. I was supposed to fight him. He was never supposed to fight Dillon. He was never supposed to fight St-Pierre. He was supposed to fight me January 14th. Got a 7-figure contract. You asked to fight me, motherfucker. I don't even know your name. You asked to fight me. You sent me a contract. I agreed to it. And then guess what? He flaked and took the easier opponent because what happened? Logan Paul shit up in WWE in Saudi Arabia. So technically on that card, it was supposed to be me and KSI, Logan Paul, and Dillon. That was supposed to be the fight card January 14th. He switched to style. That's why I went out to Dubai. So I don't really I feel like in those fights, just enjoy the entertainment, be entertained. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
All these guys, like Slim is actually nice though.
He is. Slim is good.
I'm talking about Slim is nice. I like Slim.
Slim is good. He's nice. Good. I saw his fight with Saul Poppe. So how do you feel about Danis getting an opportunity to fight in the UFC?
He is?
No, what do you think? Do you think they should give him an opportunity to fight in the UFC?
I mean, you talking about business side or you talking about sports side?
I want to know T-Wood side. I want to know real G side.
Nobody give a about no Dillon. No one give a fraction of a about a Dillon Danis. But as far as like somebody's gonna keep talking shit over and over again, he gonna fall into the Kobe Covington category, but he's not gonna be as good. Maybe he should fight Kobe.
Okay,
yeah, there it is. I would watch it fight so we can be cringed up by the shit talking, right? And then technically, if Kobe keeps wrestling him, he actually got a decent chance on the ground, I guess.
Yeah, his jiu-jitsu's legit. I broken down a couple of his fights, and I think the biggest thing for Dillon, he's had so much injuries and surgeries, and I think he hasn't had an opportunity to stay healthy. And sometimes I feel when you get big by talking and, gabbing a lot instead of just fighting more.
And also that means you're training like a dumbass, because if he hasn't only fought twice and he got so many injuries and surgery, that means he's not training with people that are protecting him.
Exactly. So that's the hardest thing. I always laugh because that's the biggest talk. That's one of the biggest talks right now around like, yes, beautiful. Yes, go ask mom. I love your shoes. Go ask mom, okay? I'll be in a little bit. Okay,
first family.
Yeah, I know, right? I will in a second, okay? Let me finish my.
We gotta go to church. Still gotta get you off here.
Yeah.
The Lord ain't gonna get struck down for me. Pray for me when you get there too.
Yeah, I will. But dear Lord, baby Jesus, make sure T Will gets the biggest bag he can in Saudi Arabia. And I want to make sure you bless all of his blessings, Lord.
His mind, his body, his soul, his spirit.
Keep them devils and distractions away from this man. Lord knows he loves it too much. Say hi. Say hi.
How you doing?
Say hi. She's shy. All right. All right. Well, T Wood, man, I think we got to do this again because we didn't get to talk about so much stuff. I didn't get to talk to you about your movies, the acting.
I tricked you because now I need you to come on my podcast. So
hey, you know what, baby? We're going to do it.
Swing up. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the realest international promotion trip. Come take a trip. Everybody want to increase tourism. We're going to show you how to do business proper. So we're going to promote all things art, not just mixed martial arts, art festivals, concerts, music, boxing, mixed martial art, and especially events. So the realest international promotion trip, we are headquarters in Dubai, but we were Wild West Side when it come down to it.
I love it. And that's what you got coming up next. Where can people find you, T Wood? You got your podcast coming up.
Social media launch next week. You guys are the first here. It's called Real Shit Right Quick. Me and my dog Rosenblum, Evan from TMZ, 18 years there. He created TMZ Sports. A lot of credibility. We had a great show called The Hollywood Beatdown. Our numbers were dumb. So we reconvened chemistry off the wall. That show's going to launch next week. You can see me fight. I'm working on a big fight right now. Like I told you when I got off the phone, that's a different fight, but I got another fight that I talked to you off air that I can't talk about yet, that preferably both of these go down in this start of 2024 with some mama energy.
I love it. Man, ladies and gentlemen, Michael, do you have anything left for my man T Wood?
No, that was it. I just, one thing I thought was interesting that the viewers might know is DJ, you actually have a son named Tyron, so I thought that was a pretty interesting.
TYREN. How you doing? How old are you now? 10?
He's 10, man. He's 10. He's almost as big as me. I know that's not saying much, but oh bless you, baby. He's almost as big as me. I think he's 4'8" now, 4'8". I'm 5'3", so he's catching me, man. And it was funny because I remember the first time we saw you fight, we heard Mama Wood like, "Come on, Tyron, come on, baby, get him, baby, come on, beat his ass, baby." And then she was like, "I love that sound of that name." And we kind of got some influence from that, like just hearing the name Tyron Woodley. It's very unique for to hear it right off the bat and to have a black dude named Tyron Woodley. And then I was like, I like that name, and Destiny did too. So, you kind of influenced that name of the day.
OG Triple.
That's right.
Well, I gotta say, I ain't seen him in a long time.
I don't know where his black ass is at. He's out here doing something. They're in the WWE now, man. That's all they do is WWE every day, all day. When Michael comes over and stays a night, he's downstairs playing with the kids too, doing WWE. And I was like, Michael, you're the adult. Can we get these kids to bed? And he goes, he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, it's so fun.
Yeah, they introduced him to CM Punk.
They probably would like that.
Yeah. So you're thinking about him making that 500,000?
It pissed me off. That's what it did.
I seen Punk. He's a good dude though.
All the shit DJ said now that he sees CM Punk, and he's just like, I f***ing heard your podcast with Tyron Woodley.
Right?
Punk's a good dude though. He's one guy that basically his heart and just who he was. Like if you met him outside of the negotiation stuff, you were like, he's a good dude.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I believe it. So, all right, T Wood, we're going to do this again. thank you so much for coming into the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our guest, Tyron Woodley. And make sure you guys follow us on, Spotify, all the video stuff. Tanner, you be quiet. I am your host, Demetrious Johnson, along with my good friend co-host, Michael Wonsover. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out. You're gonna get it.